Chapter 5. The Magician's Nephew. Summary. Tricked. Diggory Kicker, a young boy, has come to live in London Rose House with his mate, Uncle Andrew, and his keen aunt lady who helps care for Diggory's dying mother, Mabel Kirker. Diggory meets a neighbor girl, Polly Plummer, who shows him how to sneak into adjoining homes on the road through an attic passageway that connects them. They decide to explore an abandoned home to lure down, but accidentally peek into the wrong home. The furnished room seems deserted, and Polly steps inside to investigate. A tray of alluring green and yellow rings. Chuck Diggory wants to leave, but it is too late to leave. They have stumbled into Uncle Andrew's forbidden study, and he locks them into the room. With a toothy smile, he proclaims to children are just what I wanted for his experiments. For after all, a guinea pig can't tell you anything. The alarmed children insist on leaving, but then Uncle Andrew offers Polly one of the enticing yellow rings. Before Diggory can stop her, Polly picks one up and instantly disappears. Uncle Andrew explains that he has created these magical rings, and the rings transport whoever touches them to another world. The rings were created from a box of magical dust lent to him by his godmother, Mrs. Levy, and which he had promised to destroy, but they kept instead. The yellow ring draws a person to the other world, which Uncle Andrew knows nothing about, and the green ring brings the person back. Uncle Andrew has already successfully sent a guinea pig there, and now Polly has gone too, with a yellow ring only to save his friend. Diggory has no choice but to follow her there, using a yellow ring with two green rings in his pocket, one for his return and one for hers. Diggory is transported to a dreamy, pleasant forest with a shallow pools dotted throughout the trees. He has emerged from one of these pools, completely dry. The sleepy atmosphere soothes him into forgetfulness until he notices a girl lying nearby. They figure out that they now want another, and then the whole story comes rushing back when they notice each other matching yellow rings. They are about to jump back into the pool to home when Diggory wonders aloud, What are all the other pools? The children realize the other pools must lead to other worlds. They figure out that the forest is a building world and call it the wood between the worlds. They decide to try out the rings to visit another world and discover that the green rings allow outward travel from the wood to any other world, while the yellow ring draws one back to the wood each time. Together they jump into an unknown pool, obtaining the queen. Polly and Diggory find themselves in an eerie, silent place. Its darkness relieved only by the faint glow of a dim red sun. They are in the ruins of an abandoned castle, and though Polly wants to go back immediately, Diggory wants to explore inside the crumbling place. They find her hall full of life-like images of people dressed in splendid finery. The last of these figures is a breathtaking queen of tall and proud. Diggory is entranced by her. In the center of the room sits a tiny golden bell and hammer on a stone pedestal. a carved inscription. Does the inventor stranger to ring the bell or eternally wonder what would have followed if you had? Polly argues against ringing the bell, but Diggory forcibly restrains her, holding her waist, and hits it with the hammer anyway. A sonic note grows louder and louder, and until the castle begins to crumble around them, then the sound fades away. From the end of the hall of images, the magnificent queen rises to her feet, awakened by the bell, wanting to know what powerful magician has awakened her. Polly explains that they've come to her world by Uncle Andrew's magic, as the regal, stern woman escorts them from the hall. She usually demolishes the giant castle doors with a single word. They crumble into dust. She tells of the end of her world and the city Tyre, which was once that great city, the city of the King of Kings, the wonder of the world. She herself destroyed the world and every living creature on it in an attempt to seize her sister's throne, rather than admit defeat at the hands of her sister's victorious army. I, Jadis, the last queen, had uttered the probable word, a word such power it wiped out the entire world. Diggory and Polly are afflicted out at the loss of life, but the queen Jadis, they were my people. What else were they there for but to do my will? The queen then demands to be taken to the children's own world, a younger world, where she will take over as ruler. Struggle the children try to escape without her by putting on the magical rings, but Jadis grabs hold of Polly's hair and is transported with them to the wood between the world. The queen immediately becomes faint and weak amongst the trees. Her power drained. Polly and Diggory seized the opportunity to jump into the pool to their own world. Once again took the witch cage's hold of Diggory's ear and gasped along for the ride. Moments later, a shocked Uncle Andrew is faced with two children and the giant, magnificent, unwanted tyrant in his studies. Her strength has returned to her, and Jadis loses no time in ordering the frightened Uncle Andrew to bring her a chariot or a flying carpet or a well-trained dragon to take her into the city. He leaves the room to call her on some cab, horse and buggy, and meanwhile, Diggory apologizes to Polly for getting them into this whole mess while the queen ignores them. Polly hurries home, where she is sent to bed for 2 hours for being late for dinner. Downstairs, Uncle Andrew tosses back a couple of drinks to calm his nerves and then puts on his finest clothes, somehow deluded into believing the queen a damn fine woman, a superb creature, will fall in love with him. He asks to borrow cap far from Uncle Lanty, who refuses him. He has already nearly put her into the poorhouse with his poor financial management and lavish spending. Just then the witch bursts through the door, breaking out demands to Uncle Andrew. Lanty will have none of it and ordered Jadis to get out of my house this moment, you shameless hussy. The furious queen tries to blast out Lady into cemetery, but her words of power fail to work in this world. Instead, she picks up and throws Aunt Lady across the room. Then he decides snugly to the waiting cab. Diggory, afraid the witch will return and upset his dying mother, revolves to catch hold of Jadis as soon as she returns and take her back to the wood between the woods. Diggory then overhears his aunt telling a visiting friend that his very ill mother would need fruit from the land of Yule to help her now. It occurs to him that he might indeed find a land of Yule and a cure for his mother through using the magic rings and visiting the other pools. Chaos erupts outside the house as Jadis returns, standing atop the cab and driving it herself at full tilt as she with the horse. She leaps onto the horse's back as the cab smashes into a lamppost in front of the house. The police are hot on her tail and a crowd has gathered to enjoy the spectacle. The witch, laden with stolen jewelry, tries to cut the horse free from the wreckage of the cab, while the cabby tries to get close to calm his horse. Strawberry, as the crowd jeers at Empress Jadis, she angrily breaks off a crossbar from the lamppost with her bare hands to use as a weapon. Polly replies just in time to help. She grabs Diggory, Diggory grabs the witch, and Polly transports them back to the magical forest. The armored Tegelings that ever now with not only Queen Jadis but also Uncle Andrew the horse and the cabby, all of whom were touching at the moment Polly grabbed her ring. They immediately leap into another pool trying to get back to town to shake off the witch permanently, but instead find themselves on a dark world with no stars or planets or even wind. Narnia is born. A distant voice begins to sing in beautiful tones, and with each note, others begins to appear. The sky fills with stars. A joyful sun rises, and the bare earth is carpeted with grass, trees, and flowers. The singer is the great lion Aslan, and the children, the cabby and strawberry, and are awed by him and his beautiful song. The witch took has him instantly and flings the lamppost crossbar and his heart then runs away through the trees. Uncle Andrew tries several times to get Diggory to take him home with the rings, but his nephew refuses to leave the others behind. Then they notice the lamppost bar, which has taken root in the ground and begun to grow into a full-size lamppost lit by flame. Uncle Andrew speculates on the money he could make from this work by planting metal to grow into shapes and the trends. While Diggory realizes this newly born land might very well be the land of youth that could save his mother's life. Yeah, Aslan is still singing. And now creatures of every shape and size are emerging from within the earth. Strawberry thrusts forward to join the majority of animals as the lion begins to choose pairs of animals to separate from the herd. As the pairs follow the lion, the other animals disperse to every corner of the land. The chosen animals begin to transform as the lion commands Narnia, awake, love, think, speak, be walking trees, be talking beasts, be divine waters. Mythical creatures and naiads emerge from the forest and river, and Strawberry is the first to speak, asking Aslan to explain what is happening. It is naiads emerge from the forest and river, and Strawberry is the first to speak, asking Aslan to explain what is happening. It is the birth of Narnian. It is the birth of Narnian. Aslan explained a talk. The world is not 5 hours old and evil has already entered it. Diggory, Polly, and the cabby approach Aslan, and Diggory asks for something to help his mother. Aslan instead pats Diggory on the spot, and Diggory admits to the animals that he had awakened the witch and brought her into Narnia. The lion then declares as Adam's race as then the harm Adam's race shall help to heal it. Immediately transport the Honorable Cabby's wife Nelly into Narnia and names them as the first king and queen of Narnia, King Frank and Queen Helen. In the meantime, Uncle Andrew retrieved of the busiest strings into the forest. He has convinced himself that they can't really be singing or speaking and hears only roars and growls. The curious but well-meaning crowd of talking animals surrounds him, thinking perhaps he might be the evil Aslan mentioned, and Uncle Andrew faints from fright. Not knowing what human is the animals debate whether he's a tree or animal. They decide he must be a tree, so they plant his limp body in the ground from the knees down, and 11 doses him with water, and Uncle Andrew awakens screaming, realizing he's surely an animal. Now the beasts pick him up and make a cage from trees to keep himself until Aslan can advise them on what to do with the strange sorry creature. The Tree of Protection. After naming Frank and Helen as king and queen, Aslan transforms Strawberry into a winged horse, and Kristen inflates the horse's edges to carry Diggory and Polly on a quest to the distant mountains in the western world. Their Diggory is to pluck an apple from a special tree in the center of a garden on the top of a hill and bring it back to Aslan. It is a long journey, and the trio stops to rest for the night in the forest along the way. The next day, they fly to the hilltop garden, which has a high wall and a golden gate with a warning inscription and enter only by the gate and take fruit only for others, not for oneself. Diggory enters alone, finds the special tree and plucks a silver apple from it. Although he is tempted to take a bit, he pockets the fruit and then turns to find the witch standing nearby. She has just eaten an apple herself and tries to induce him to do the same, or even to take this apple of life home to his mother. The boy resists her bidding and quickly returns to Aslan with Polly and Fletch. Diggory hands over the apple, and the lion instructs him to plant in the earth, where it will grow into a tree that will protect Narnia from the witch for many years. Next, Aslan turns to Uncle Andrew, who is a muddy, soggy mess, and casts the frightened man into an enchanted sleep. King Frank and Queen Helen are crowned, and afterward the gathered crowd turns to find the tree planted for Narnia's protection. Already fully grown, Aslan grants Diggory an apple from the tree to take to his mother as a cure for her illness. The lion transports Diggory, Polly, and the sleeping Uncle Andrew to the wood between the woods, where he points out the dried up pool that owns it to the word of Chan. That word is indeed in tones. Let the rest of Adam and Eve take warning. He then instructs the children to bury the magical rings when they return home, and he sends the tree on the way. Diggory hurries to give his mother the apple of life and is magically cured overnight. Diggory buries the apple core in the garden surrounded by the magic rings, and many years later, when the tree is blown down in a storm, he uses the wood to make a great wardrobe, the same wardrobe through which Lucy Pevensie later enters Narnia.